Good day, everybody. My name is Todd Stanley. I'm the man who takes people out into the field and has them either live interact with or eyewitness a Sasquatch. Thank you very much for tuning into my Throwback Thursday video today. I would like to blow your mind today and bring you, so probably in the history of Sasquatch, there are very few videos that are at the top echelon, elite level, really amazing quality. And the Patterson footage is legit and real, and I have a lot of respect for it. I think this would be probably the second greatest piece of Sasquatch footage ever filmed, and it's my video 5. So you could probably say video 3 of mine is pretty exceptional because the Sasquatch is moving, it's 9 feet tall, and it's running faster than the fastest man on the planet. But there's lots. See, what I did in my documentary and talking about this piece of footage, this video 5 footage from the Sasquatch I call Jake, which is one of my all-time favorites. What people don't know is, see, I put it up there and I said, here's the footage, have a look at it. Well, how'd you get it? What happened to get it? Did you know that a Sasquatch made physical contact with me? That's why this footage, there wasn't more excessive in the end, because a Sasquatch took me down. So I'm gonna get into that today. We're gonna have a really great show. I'm gonna expose things that you may not even know that had happened up to getting that footage. So let's go into that today. So I have an actual ulterior motive too with doing this video today, because my perspectives are potentially changing. I know people call this woo, and I'm probably getting a little woo, because telepathy is real, mind speak is real, precognition is real. The quantum physics are proving this stuff. So hold on and be patient, please, because there's so many people, they're so ultra conservative and don't understand that these things are actual scientific facts. Right now, physicists are withholding information because there's going to be such a paradigm shift into what we know in the quantum scientific reality of cognition, of attracting things in your life. All these things are scientifically now being substantiated and proven. And I want to take it easy on you, though, because universities have been teaching that telepathy is real in the field of psychology for over 20 years, in case you're not in the know. I took psychology in 1999, and they were teaching the reality of telepathy and the proven factual data that science has to support it. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because, take a deep breath and be patient with me. I believe that the Patterson footage, the Sasquatch allowed that to transpire. I just believe that's a possibility. It's just a hypothesis I have. So take a deep breath for those of you who are ultra conservative and going to disagree with me. And you can disagree with me because I'm on the fence about this myself. I believe from the evidence I've been reading that the Patterson female had been attracting Roger Patterson for quite some time through various ways. And even just specifically, there have been people, Roger Patterson wanted to go looking for a Sasquatch, and people had seen a female and a young Sasquatch up in this area where he went and filmed them. There were previous tracks. People were barking about it. I believe she was attracting Patterson to come and get that footage. I believe, just again, patient with me. After interviewing Bob Gimlin at length and studying so much there is to know about this footage, as well as understanding the species commonly referred to as Bigfoot, I believe she waited there for Patterson to start filming before she actually walked and had that legendary piece of footage. A little crazy, right? Maybe I'm wrong. But going with that potential theory, and let's just be peaceful here, please. I'm not so sure that I actually successfully, what's the word I want to use? Outdid Jake in this video that I got footage of him. I'm starting to think that he wasn't there surprised that I was there. I'm starting to think the possibility that he knew I was there. He knew I was coming. And he was actually interacting with me. And the reason I can actually say this too is I've seen it on expedition. I've seen Sasquatch allow us to come around, tree themselves, and play games like that with my expeditioners that resulted in incredible success. So my original thoughts were that, so what had happened was I'd moved into the spot in what I called a ghillie cloak. It was like a ghillie suit except an entire body cloak. I came in through horrible, nasty weather, high winds, heavy rain, sleet, snow. The reason I was able to navigate is I was actually walking in through a glacier creek. So no animal, no being has ever been able to do that. And I was using those neoprene hip waders. I can walk in those creeks. I could sleep in those creeks. And that's what I was doing, is I spent days moving in on this creek to move in on this position where Jake was to film video 5. So I needed horrible, terrible weather as cover. I navigated in through this creek. I was using neoprene hip waders with a ghillie cloak to stay undercover. And that's how I got into this position where I knew Jake had been on a regular basis. The reason I have to say this is after, I filmed that in 2010, it's 2024, and I have been able to acquire other pieces of footage, video 6, video 8 with Kubota, the dark Sasquatch blinking. Those were very different though. And you know, deep in-depth stories that are a little more explained in the documentary, because the whole Jake scenario, you got to understand, I failed 10 times, 10 week-long expeditions, so 70 days of failure before I ever got this tremendously successful Jake footage. I was working alone, and you know, just there were other techniques way deeper backcountry, way more into Sasquatch habitat. And anyways, what we'd known was this was a spot that Jake used as a day watching spot. He was regularly there, and I had done, I'd preemptively figured that out doing some recon. So came back to this spot. So if they are indeed completely able to easily evade me over and over, which is what I suspect was happening, then he was playing with me that day. He was allowing that footage to transpire. He was allowing me to get that footage. Since we're kind of stretching things a little bit right now, let's not assume that this Sasquatch actually knew that I was filming him, but simply argue, take the point, concede the point that from my perspective, I thought that he was actually not aware of me, and change that perspective to he was aware of me, and he was allowing me to move in on his position and get as close as I was. At that much, I don't think that's actually such a stretch. So in the footage, so I had a Canon 60D camera, and I had an extra long lens that I'd borrowed that was really expensive. At the time, I couldn't afford to pay for it myself. I ended up paying for it. But so I was moving in on position. I was getting better and better shots, and I was actually turning the camera on and off. So I had the ability that if you know a Canon 60D, it's very difficult to change out the batteries, and the batteries only last maybe 45 minutes. So remember, this camera, I filmed this in 2010. So it's a big camera. The batteries are not working very well, and changing them is a pain in the butt. I wanted to make sure that I had even enough room on my SD card, because I've been filming like crazy to get there. So I'm filming, and in my mind, I film, I get a very good clear shot for approximately 20 seconds, turn the camera off, get back deep into cover, move into a better position, and film. And what I do know was happening for sure was Jake, as we're going to refer him, that Sasquatch, he would come out, and there was another Sasquatch I could hear. And I thought maybe the Sasquatch was bringing him food, or I don't know what the interactions were. But if I'm correct in my new hypothesis that they knew I was there, basically Jake was just interacting randomly for a Sasquatch that knew I was there, and then, you know, just moving appropriately. What I do know for certain is Jake kept going up and down the Daywatcher tree. I wanted to get footage of him from below, but I'll tell you, when he got up into that Rocky Mountain Douglas fir tree, this was a tree that was at least 100 feet up in the air. When he got up in that tree, I could never ever get a shot of him. I spent probably 2 hours filming that tree when I knew he was in it, moving around him from below, no more than 70, 80 yards away from the bottom of that tree, doing a circumference. Never. I looked at that footage. I had colleagues look at that footage. We never saw an ounce of a toe or nothing in any way, shape, or form. Even though I knew he was in the tree, I could hear him. I could hear from time to time. Basically, when Jake came down out of the tree, I would hear the Sasquatch that was behind me, basically in the opposite direction of Jake. So that's why you have these multiple pieces of footage that were shot over several different hours, because it was over that time period that I was interacting with Jake. And pretty much without exception, every shot, every time I saw Jake, I filmed him and I got him in excellent focus. You'll see that in the shots. Every single shot is me getting my focus, making sure I've got a good time where I can see that Sasquatch clear as day. Once the shot was done, turn the camera off, back under cover, move for the next position. Ultimately, the goal was, so I knew the terrain extremely well. I'd studied it very, very well. And I was blocking Jake from coming back down the mountainside. The mountainside that I had facing him was cliffs all the way along. Severe, nasty, horrible cliffs, like almost 180 degrees of it. So the plan was to get him in motion. So as he would come down, well, what eventually happened after I had really significant, amazing footage I was very happy with, I stood up out of my ghillie suit when Jake was on the ground this one last time, and I went after him. I went after him knowing that at the very least he was going to have to come past me and I was going to get footage. As soon as he came down, immediately he was moving fast. Like, again, this is a proper, appropriate lens. This is not some kind of autofocus thing that we have today. It takes time to get your focus and figure out where your subject is, and it's a lot of work to catch something moving, especially at those velocities. So initially when he was moving, I hit record. All you see is a blurry camera moving around. I didn't have it pointing in the right direction. Remember, I have 180 degrees in front of me where he can move. But what I vividly do remember, when I was just looking visually, not through the camera, is I remember a tree that was bent over the trail like this. And I remember as he ran under it, his head was just barely under it. So what I did was, when I had him cornered in that position, but as I walked over to that particular area, I put my hand up in the air, and now I know. So the Sasquatch was just, I'd say, 2 inches above where my hand is. My hand's about 8'6". So I always said that Jake was 8'6", which is not true. He's actually a couple inches taller than that. So he's about 8'8" during the time. And Jake wasn't a fully grown Sasquatch at that time. So the footage that you saw is not what I wanted. That's not the coup de grace. The coup de grace was to get full body, full motion movement of Jake. So I got him cornered on this side of the mountain, and now there's no need to run. I got my camera, I got my focus. I'm focused. So I got to the spot where I measured his height, took my time, took a deep breath. I knew he was on that side of the mountain. I knew within sight of me, I had about 40 yards in each way, at least, where he couldn't have, well, at least I hoped that he was not going to be able to sneak past me. So I'm moving along nice and slow, controlling myself, controlling my breathing, making sure I have the shot, moving in. Again, I'm focused about 25, 30 yards, varying it as I'm watching for him, primarily through the viewfinder. So as I'm moving forward, I can hear him. I know he's over there. I'm going to get that piece of footage. I don't care what it takes. If he comes past me, I'm going to get the shot, 100%. What happens? I literally, this is why that Harry and the Hendersons scene is so significant to me. You know, at the end of the movie, Harry and the Hendersons, where you're watching and suddenly all these Sasquatch pop out? What I have to say believe, it's not believe, what I know happened is I actually walked past a Sasquatch. I believe a Sasquatch was just hiding in a tree or hiding beside a tree. Either that or he came up from behind me. But what he did was, I'm here with my daughter. Daughter, come here, please. I'm going to demonstrate on her what actually happened to me. So, so this is my little girl. She's out here helping me do this video. And she's going to help me demonstrate. So literally, when I walked past the Sasquatch, so from behind, so turn around, please. Just turn around, go that way. No, turn around. Thank you. So what he did was, he put his hand on me like this and pushed me. So without grabbing, I'm kind of grabbing her. Okay, you can continue. Thank you. So I remember feeling that shove, and what happened was I felt it kind of gently for a second, and then it sped up and pushed me. I'll tell you guys, I flew 15 yards. I've played football with men like, I'll quote my old friend who was 6'7" and 300 pounds, going this way, Jeff Thomas, who used to wrestle with me and you know, horseplay with me. I've had big men, giant men, as big as it gets, powerful men, professional offensive linemen, football players, toss me around, wrestle with me. Nothing ever in my whole life came close to that. It was like the power of a truck. I think I flew, I mean, it felt like so much. I'm trying to be conservative. There's no way I didn't fly at least 15 yards. Destroyed the lens on my camera. That's why earlier you heard me mention the expensive lens. I actually had to pay for that lens. I brought it back broken. So when I landed, I'll tell you, you're so disorientated. Like, I landed, I had the wind knocked out of me. I was completely disorientated. Like a dumbass, I was trying to protect the camera as I was flying through the air, which did no good. This is Rocky Mountains where the trees are spaced in between really, really hard ground. I almost, anyways, I wrecked that lens. The camera was obviously viable to some extent, but the card was viable, so I'd saved all the footage. But I don't even know what happened to that footage. It kind of got to the point where, to be honest, I just kept moving forward. I expected I would get new footage, better footage. So I didn't really make, and I wasn't a documentary filmmaker. I didn't have the experience with film as I do now, because I've been mentored by Warner Brothers and Survivor Men and other different men and women. And I've studied and learned how to make film now. Point is, I just got to the point, and one day there will be a whole documentary about how I filmed these different, like even video 6 or video 4 with Jane. That the stuff, the behind the scenes that went on with that stuff, you just have no idea. If you think it's just this laughable, if you think I just went out and got that footage, I've spent thousands of days now in the backcountry wilderness. Like, not even like this. I'm not backcountry right now at all. I'm just out in the wilderness, but way in the hell of backcountry where there's no people, deep wilderness expeditions, and specifically just for Sasquatch, going places where there's just absolutely no people, potentially no people have ever been to these places, doing expeditions that deep, and all the things that can go wrong when you do those kind of expeditions, and the lessons that I've learned. I haven't talked about any of that stuff. So, but know this, because people ask, well, what happened after you filmed? And I call that footage video 5. That's the 5th sequence, Sasquatch video sequence I filmed. Although I have multiple videos of 5, and multiple photographs. I was also taking photographs from time to time. When I came back, I didn't get my full body shot to go compete or compare to the Patterson footage, which is amazing. But, I still have to be really happy. I feel very happy and very successful about the video 5 footage, and know that a Sasquatch, and, you can't be skeptical about that. There is nothing in nature that could have thrown me like that. I didn't see the Sasquatch. I didn't hear the Sasquatch. I didn't smell the Sasquatch. But I felt a hand, guys. I felt a hand on my body. And it wasn't Jake either. No way. I actually had Jake dialed in the distance. That's why I was so intently focused on far away. I didn't think to ever imagine there would have been a bear up there. I was in a closed distance. So I could see the end of the mountain probably 150 yards away. So I consider video 5, Jake, just a tremendous, amazing success. It is what can't be arguable, whether you believe it or not. It's one of the greatest pieces of Sasquatch footage of all time. And that's a bit of the backstory that I can go through to tell you what transpired, and my changing position now, believing that they were actually, it was not me being successfully sneaking up on them. It was actually them allowing me to come in, allowing me to interact with them, and interacting with me and playing with me back and forth and dominating me. If that's the case, this is why I'm changing my perspective. I believe I was dominated because they've dominated before, and ever since they've been dominating me. And I'm just leaning towards that theory significantly. I'd love to hear what you think about it. Thank you very much for tuning in today. More videos to come. And I'd love to hear your opinions and perspectives now that I've learned all this new stuff about Sasquatch over the last almost 20 years of researching them. Take care. Bye for now.